Switch gears to some huge developments today in the Jamie Null theft case. The former Clark County Sheriff is charged with 15 felonies, accused of assigning county employees to work on his personal property, selling county vehicles for his own gain, and more.
Today, the special prosecutor said Null's wife is likely to be the next in line to be charged. Reporter Travis Breeze and photojournalist Jessica Farley are in the Southern Indiana courtroom.
The special prosecutor said today he was prepared to bring criminal charges against Misty Null, Jamie Null's wife. The judge even hinted that she might be arrested in the courtroom on Tuesday. That didn't happen, and they need to make sure they know how to bring those charges, but it led to a passionate response from the defense team that it was not the right way to bring it up.
I could arrest her myself according to the statute.
Seated just one row behind her husband, lawyers discussed how and when Misty Null will be brought into the case.
And I find it a tad bit disheartening that this is how the government's approach to today's proceeding was.
So far, the former sheriff has been accused of using taxpayer money to buy a plane, selling cars out of a volunteer firefighters association, and not declaring child support payments on his taxes. The state prosecutor didn't specify what kind of charges could be coming Misty's way.
The state is now prepared to move forward on criminal charges against certain defendants, primarily Misty Null.
Rick Hurdle was looking for guidance on how to bring the charges because a special judge has been brought in for the Jamie Null investigation with no mention of his wife. The judge was willing to have a hearing right then and there.
If you want to arrest her, she's sitting in chair 2 front row.
Well, I gotta have probable cause before I can do that.
Defense attorney Larry Wilder objected to her being arrested when the jurisdiction and bond was not clear.
Just to punish them in advance seems a little bit like a strategy that is outside the bounds of all of the trial rules that have been invoked by the Supreme Court.
Hurdle didn't want to have a probable cause hearing Tuesday, and the two sides will make sure of the proper way to do it, but the charges could be coming any day. In Jeffersonville, Travis Breeze, WHAS 11 on your side.
And the next hearing in this case is scheduled for March 15th.
The defense is also appealing Jamie Null's initial bond decision, which he did pay. That appeal is going to the Indiana Court of Appeals.
We have new developments today. A man was arrested in Ohio in connection to a Louisville murder that happened earlier this year. 29-year-old Shavion Boyd was taken into custody by the Fayette County Sheriff's Office. There was an arrest warrant out for murder on Boyd. Back in January, on the 9th, LMPD officers responded to a shooting in the Taylorberry neighborhood. That was right on Utah Avenue. They say there they found a man who was shot. He was rushed to the hospital, and that is where he died. Boyd is currently waiting extradition.
Louisville firefighters who were en route to a medical emergency happened to come upon a house fire in the Portland neighborhood this morning. This is a video from Louisville Fire Department Major Bobby Cooper on the scene. It happened at 26 and Griffiths Avenue. Louisville Fire Department chief says no one lived there, but they did find squatters inside the home at the time of the fire. Everyone got out safely, including 2 people firefighters helped out of the building.
Seeing a lot of vacant structures. People need to understand, we understand how bitterly cold it is. People are going to do whatever they can to stay warm. Certainly, the city has a lot of resources out. The white flags are out at all the shelters, so we try to encourage people to get there and get warm.
There are 2 shelters in Louisville with white flags in place. That's Wayside Christian Mission and the Salvation Army Center for Hope. Work is still underway on Baxter Avenue in Phoenix Hill after a water main break on Monday. At the time, Louisville Water Crews said their workers would work through the night to repair the line, but while the break is fixed, northbound lanes do remain closed in the area. There in the lower highlands, you can expect traffic changes in the area. The water company says it's repaired more than 20 breaks due to the cold weather since last Friday. And we do have a sad update for you tonight. We've learned that a Louisville Metro police officer's wife was killed in that head-on crash on Taylorsville Lake Road that happened over the weekend.
Sadly, this family is very familiar with tragedy. Now, LMPD Foundation's working to support them. Reporter Alexis Jones and photojournalist Emma Gefter spoke with the foundation about how you can help.
After learning of Arendita Lane's death, the LMPD Foundation jumped into action to support her husband and children who've already endured so much. Police say Arendita Lane died in a car crash on Taylorsville Lake Road late Saturday night. The Chansey Elementary School teacher was in the car with her 14-year-old daughter, who was injured but is expected to make a full recovery. Unfortunately, Arendita left behind both of her children and her husband of 19 years, LMPD Sergeant Chris Lane.
You could tell how much in love they were. You could tell how proud she was of him. She was there for him, you know, through all the challenging times as he was there for her.
Back in 2021, Sergeant Lane was shot in the face while off duty in a construction zone on Interstate 264. A construction worker who was also shot died at the scene. Rebecca Grignon-Reeker, executive director of LMPD Foundation, says Arendita stood by her husband's side after the incident. Now the foundation plans to do the same, starting with a fundraiser.
They will always look for her. They will think of her during the holidays. There will be a hole there for the rest of their lives. And we can't do anything to bring her back, but we can show them how much their dad is appreciated and how much she was appreciated for standing by him. And we can surround them with love. And that is just as healing, I think, as the financial help.
If you would like to donate, the link to the fundraiser will be on our website, WHAS11.com. In Louisville, Alexis Jones, WHAS11 on your side.
Well, after last night, all eyes are on the race for the White House. Former President Donald Trump winning the Iowa caucuses by a staggering 30 points, coming out on top over Ron DeSantis, with Nikki Haley close behind in third place. ABC's Ike Ajachi shows us how the focus now moves to New Hampshire.
Former President Donald Trump, fresh off his commanding 30-point victory in Monday's Iowa caucuses, now focusing on the New Hampshire primary.
The big night is going to be in November, when we take back our country, and truly, we do make our country great again.
I don't think it took an oracle to know that we're just going through the motions and that President Trump is the nominee.
The Iowa caucuses narrowing the Republican field, with Vivek Ramaswamy bowing out of the race, then endorsing Trump. And now, former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, who is openly critical of Trump, suspending his campaign after coming in 5th place in the caucuses, securing just 190 votes.
They threw everything but the kitchen sink at me during this process.
Runner-up Governor Ron DeSantis taking his 2nd place finish to New Hampshire, where he looks to overtake Nikki Haley in the state. Polls showing Haley within striking distance of Donald Trump.
Nikki Haley said only the top 2 from Iowa, go on to be viable. Well, guess what? We punched our ticket out of Iowa yesterday.
Meanwhile, Haley now saying she will only participate in the next presidential debate if Trump or President Biden is involved, leaving DeSantis as the only candidate committed to Thursday's event so far.
Americans don't want to see Trump or Biden. The majority of Americans disapprove of both of them.
A Trump campaign spokesperson did not immediately respond to a message seeking comment if Trump will take part in Thursday's debate. He skipped all the primary ones so far. Ike Ajachi, ABC News, Washington.
Also here tonight, the nominees for president are currently being decided at caucuses and primaries in states across the country. So what's the difference between a caucus and a primary?
Primary is run by the state government, similar to a typical election, with voters casting ballots in the mail or going to the polling places. A caucus is run entirely by the state party, usually requiring voters to go in person to declare their preference at a local venue. Historically, caucuses could be hectic events, with supporters giving speeches to persuade people to physically move into their candidate's corner. But in recent years, most of the few states that still have caucuses have adopted more traditional secret ballots.